So, as you might imagine, for a few weeks, I was not functioning very well at all. I was regretting starting this medication because I felt fine before I started taking the medicine. I had to hold the walls to move from one area in my house to another. I was so dizzy all the time. So I don't know if I mistook the medication or if I actually had a hypersensitivity reaction, but I got the brown spots from the sativa. There's a drug called sativa that if you have a hypersensitivity reaction, no, a tripla, I'm sorry, a tripla. If you have a hypersensitivity reaction to it, you get these like brown spots. So I went back to the doctor and we got off the atripla, and I guess it was replaced with sativa. Don't ask me to remember what was going on then. I'm sure I had some form of AIDS dementia at that point with untreated HIV for so many years. So um, I decided to move out here, and right away my regimen was changed again. Um, and it included a drug called Calitra. And then I had what's called lactic acidosis and pancreatitis because of a side effect of that drug. So even though I'm a real advocate for treatment, back then the issues with treatment were so much greater. Now I take these two little pills that look like Tic Tacs. One looks like a Tic Tac and the other one looks like an aspirin. And sometimes I take them without water. I know I'm not supposed to do that. My doctor's here, so I'm gonna get fussed at. But anyway, um, and but they're so small that you can just down them. Whereas my first regimen was 7 pills 3 times a day, so 21 pills a day. So I would lay them out on my coffee table in the morning and take them, as I go. And sometimes it would take a while because I would get 3 down and be like, this isn't working. And so, but saying all that to say that back then, because of the way the medication was made, and it was so difficult for us to take, out of the 5 times I was in the hospital, 4 times were because of medication, because of a problem with medication. It wasn't the HIV itself. So then, after all that, I quit taking HIV medicine altogether. I was like, y'all ain't poisoning me no more. If I'm gonna die, I'm just gonna die, right? And I didn't. My body just fell apart, but I was still alive in it. And so my body was turning on me. And then I caught pneumonia because I wasn't taking any other medication. So after getting down to this really low point, and I realized that I wasn't going to just have a simple out, I started to take the medication again. And by then the medication had changed, even the virus in my body had changed. I had done something called reverting to a wild type. So the medications that I had taken had changed the way the virus was responding. And once I took my little break, the natural form of the virus took back over. So all of those copies of the virus that had been exposed to the medication and changed by the medication died off. So in a way, it was a second chance, kind of, because it didn't necessarily have to go that way. And so I started to take the medication again, and over the years, it's gotten better and better. But with the lactic acidosis, I think that was probably the point when it may sound strange, but that was when I finally accepted that I had HIV. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had lived in 3 cities already before it
How
really
many years at this time?
sunk in. So at this point, it was 2004.
So 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Right. I was taking the medicine, and I've considered myself a relatively compliant patient, but just the reality of it all, that it was that dangerous, that the medicine could be that dangerous. The disease is dangerous. Like, just feeling sandwiched between both was yeah. So then the gray hair started coming in, right? Like, this is for real, Um, and that was really powerful. That was the year that Janet Jackson had her wardrobe malfunction. And I had a morphine tap in my jugular vein. And so I saw what happened on my screen in the hospital. My mother and my brother were there. They were told to come because I might not make it. And I just said, well, all she did was, like it was no big deal to me because I was all floating on morphine the whole week. So what happened with her wardrobe malfunction didn't even seem like a big deal to me. I was just out of it. I was just out of it. Having a good time with the Super Bowl. So, and then I got out of the hospital and I had the severe neuropathy from the middle of my thighs down. And I had used the cane for a while and was kind of told that I might have to accept life with that cane and a lot of pain. It felt like somebody had a live copper wire, had just cut it as roughly as possible and was running it up and down the bottom of my feet with electricity going through it. That's what it felt like. And so there wasn't enough Vicodin, Tylenol, aspirin, ibuprofen, prayer, anything to make that pain go away. And it was about 2 years of that pain. And then I started to take yoga. I was doing like exercises, but it wasn't helping. So I started doing yoga, which I could tell was more fine. You have to balance and it's a little more complicated. And I started to regain my physical strength. I started to eat differently, vegan, mostly vegetarian, doing things that I never expected myself to do because I can enjoy a Big Mac just like anybody else, and so it was really, really life-changing. So then the medication got better, the pills got smaller, and then HIV became less a feature of my life. But definitely from 1999 to 2005, I would say that HIV was, that was the focus. That was what motivated the vast majority of my financial, personal, relationship decisions, was the HIV. So it sunk in, and then it really sunk in. And then I started doing things like speaking about it and stuff, and that really helped me to process it a lot better. One of the professors in the biology department at UNM was just really fascinated with the way I was coming through it, and so she would have me speak. And at that point, I was 129 heavy. Like, that was a big deal when I got up to 129. I felt proud of myself. I'm about 180 now, thanks to the holidays.
Are you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That you don't believe I'm 180 down?
No, because I'm like a little over. Believe it or not. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I just told all my business on Facebook
on Facebook
Live.
Right, we're all on Facebook Live. So see, Facebook, I could not wear these pants when I bought them, but they fit now. So
wow.
yeah.
Well, you wear your 180
I'm
well.
it, right? Yes,
you wear it well.
Right? Yeah. Nice cuts, good tailor. But yeah, so me at 129, I was 123 at the worst of the lactic acidosis episode because I couldn't digest food. So it was very difficult. And during that process, I had a near-death experience where I felt like I had a chance to sort of reconcile why I was fighting through this. That was the point of that near-death experience. And in this experience, I was being told that every life has a purpose and that that purpose needs to be fulfilled and that you shouldn't just let yourself die. That was basically what came out of that near-death experience, that I shouldn't try to die Because I was like, I'm done. This is fine. Peace. I mean, I wasn't mad about it or anything, but no, that wasn't. And when I would share that with people, they're like, well, yeah, of course. Why didn't you believe your life had purpose? Of course you have gifts to offer, but I really didn't see that. So it's been a really ironic experience with HIV. Um, I don't know. I don't know that I would have been alive without HIV sometimes, just because um, I didn't take my own existence seriously. It wasn't that I felt particularly reckless, but I just didn't feel that I was well grounded either. And so, and it made me pay attention to my body. And as people in my family got older and started to develop diabetes and high blood pressure and heart disease, I didn't, because I've been taking care of myself with so much intention. So now people in my family think I've been cured. So now I got a whole nother journey to do. That no, it's not about, we're not cured. Magic Johnson and I take our medicine every day. That's how we look the way we do, you know. And more recently, well, I was really tripping off of how small the pills are now. Like for the last year, I've still been like, I can't believe this, I can do this. And I'm taking my HIV medicine. It's not like sit down in front of the table and count and swallow and choke and, you know. And then they discovered that people who are taking medication aren't infectious. So as a person who is committed to my medication and my well-being, I'm not infectious to someone else. So as I said earlier, you know, so much of my life had been guided by what it meant to be HIV positive. In fact, I thought I will move out there with all that tumbleweed in that one bus stop, because then I can't infect nobody. I'll be by myself. There's no black people in New Mexico either. So that's where I'll go. That seems like a really good place to go, you know. So now here I am working at the Office of African American Affairs in the African American Performing Arts Center, talking about HIV.
And you wanted to stay away from African Americans, but here you are.
I don't know what I was thinking. I guess that's part of that purpose, right? That needed to be fulfilled, right?
Yeah, purpose.
So, so yeah, very thankful, ironically, for the journey I've had. I know that I wouldn't be who I am today without having had that experience, and I'm glad that I'm alive. And every day is a gift to me. So if somebody says, okay, this is it, you're gonna die tonight, I would say, okay, cool, I've done it. I've been busy, you know. I don't feel like there's anything I've waited to do or anything. So that's what I encourage people to do, is just to be grateful for every moment. You don't have to have HIV to die young or to die suddenly. In fact, my cousin died at 40 of a heart attack. Everybody's watching and waiting for me to die. They got the casket ordered, and my cousin dies of a heart attack. So,
wow.
You know, you just never know. You just never know. But when we did our World AIDS Day campaign out of the Office of African American Affairs, I made up the moniker, get tested, get treated, get life. Because that's really what it means now. If you get tested, you can get treated, and you can live a normal life now. It wasn't like it was when I first found out. I forgot to mention the injectable drug I had to take when I first found out. I had to inject myself 3 times a day with Neupogen, which is something to build up your white blood cell count. That's how low my white blood cell count was that. So I fought for my life. I injected, I took all those pills, I went to the doctor, I did all that stuff, you know. And even when I decided not to take the medication, I spent tons of money on Ayurveda, acupuncture, naturopathic nutritionists, yoga teachers. Oh yeah, I never did stop taking care of my health. I just kept going. Yeah, so it's been quite a journey. It has been quite a journey. So this is when I would open it up to questions. Maybe people on Facebook have a question. I don't know. Have they said anything yet?
Send your question.
Right. Type your question in.
I promise I'll read it.
Right. wonder
I
if
do
Shiny
have a
was-
question.
Yes.
You know, in your mental health profession, because I heard you say early on you kind of battled in your mind. Did that help you decide to go toward
Yeah,
counseling
mental health.
and research mental health?
I guess it did. I had a bachelor's degree in psychology and didn't feel qualified to be a therapist because I did not have a family of my own. And I don't know how many other people in the field felt that way, but I just didn't feel that it was honoring what a family was to tell a family to do something I didn't know how to do or had never lived through myself. So once I had my own children, which was a complete miracle, right? Because I'm supposed to be dead. And then my ex and I get together and we raise these kids, and now they're 18 and 21. And yeah, so that was what kind of pushed me over the edge. But now when I do work with people with health problems, because I do some personal injury casework in my practice, I think I definitely draw off of the radical acceptance of life with pain, radical acceptance of life with a disability, or any way that your life might not be what you thought it would be. I do come from a place of experience with that, just as I do as a family, as having a family, that I'm not asking people to accept their pain without knowing what that means. Yep. So it does mean a lot to be able to speak from it, from that perspective. Yeah.
So speak toward the black male in New Mexico.
Okay. Turn off the Facebook. No.
No.
Right. So
Okay.
there are a lot of facets to this, but a lot of it actually comes from the plantation. A black male who is not healthy is not worth his life on the plantation. A black male who cannot procreate is not worth his life on the plantation. And a black man who isn't the picture of masculinity among other black people might not even be valued on the plantation. And unfortunately, these things haven't completely changed in our country. That African American men are seen as, we are objectified as physically powerful beings. And that invokes fear in some people. For some people, it's inspiring. But that seems to be the narrative around us. So that's one part of it. So saying you're gay is that's a big deal. That doesn't work out so well all the time. Admitting that you're ill doesn't work out either. And if you say that you have HIV, people will assume that you're gay. There's no way around that. So it's a very complicated thing to reveal about yourself. And what I feel that I have the benefit of is not having come out with HIV at home. I didn't come out with my HIV at home. I came out with my HIV here in Albuquerque. And I'll admit that I didn't have the same attachment to the potential reactions. If people didn't like me, I was in the middle of the desert where there's no black people anyway. It's fine. I don't care, I didn't have anything to lose. But I know that that's not the case for many of us. That for many of us, to even get tested is a very difficult thing. But if you do,
Right.
you get medication and you can live your life and you can even educate other people. But it's a lot. It's still a barrier for us to get that kind of health care.
Right. So in New Mexico, you even sharing your testimony
Right.
is important because we are finding through data that in New Mexico, the black male is the one that is experiencing
Right.
HIV/AIDS at higher rates,
Right.
and definitely in Santa Fe, New Mexico,
Gay
is
black
what we're
men
finding.
or men who have sex with men, because gay is an identification, and so that's one of the things about things like the Data Hub, for example.
Right.
The Office of African American Affairs has this new Data Hub. If you go to our website, there's a menu right there. A lot of the difficulty is identifying who's at risk. At one of the events here, as a matter of fact, I was asked about the down low phenomena. And I said, well, it may be interesting in a magazine or on a TV show, but from an epidemiology point of view, it's kind of a non-starter, because you're asking me to talk about people who refuse to identify themselves. How do we do that? So the down low phenomena seems to be more of a psychological thing, in my opinion. But it is very real that people have sex with men and don't identify with the word gay, and it doesn't have necessarily to do with them being secretive about it. It has to do with the fact that, quite frankly, the term gay is a white identity. It's not something that's ever addressed the identity of people of color. And so that's another barrier to black men coming out, dealing with their sexual health anyway, is that there's a lot of mythology around that. So it's a very complicated scenario. But one of the other things I offered during that event was that gay men aren't particularly inclined to liking liars either. So it's not like, the gay community is this mecca for lying men to just come and be dishonest about who they are. I don't think that that's something that we as a community, not me anyway, So I was like, yeah, we don't want the lying guys either, We want people who can be honest in relationship. And with things like HIV, it's even more important that you have good communication skills around intimacy. You have to be able to talk about sex. And that's something that communities of color sometimes, we don't necessarily want to do. So I think that the black men are experiencing what happens in the black community at large, but just in their own way. And HIV is one of those ways that it shows up, most definitely.
So what going through your life experiences in the past couple of years with the different medication and with your different relationships, like today, what brings you joy?
Today, this brings me joy because knowing that maybe somebody is hearing this that says, you know what, that guy looks fine. I can go get tested and I can be okay, and I have 3 jobs. Right? So yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be too fine. But yeah, that's that people get information about their health to live their best life. For me, changing my health changed my behavior, my psychology, and everything. I mean, for some people, they start with the mind and then it changes the body. But for me, I needed pain and hospitalization and IVs, I guess, I don't know. But that we can change our whole lives by taking care of our bodies. That if we meet the needs of this body, then we will have a lot of what's going on in the mind covered as well. Most definitely. Yeah. That and music, going up in the mountains, hanging out with my friends. Yeah, stuff like that. Collecting tumbleweeds. Every time I see the tumbleweed snowman, I'm like, hey buddy, how you doing? You're the only one here. The rest of this is a mirage, right? Yeah. Yeah, I had just seen Baghdad Cafe, and then somebody mentioned Albuquerque to me. That was just not a good time for me to think about places in the Southwest, I guess. So, yeah. But I'm glad I'm here. The weather is very ideal. For me, it was very ideal for me to improve my health because I had a lot of sinus problems back east with allergies. So being here, I had that one less thing to worry about was to have a sinus infection, which can be major if you have HIV, right? So yeah. So it has been quite a journey. But I do feel that it's a blessing to still find joy in living. Some people go through what I've been through and they just can't anymore, but I still can. So I don't think it's me. I don't think, I just worked really hard, that's why I'm so happy. No, there's something about it that I can't quite explain.